Hi, hello, and welcome to Paisa, Vasool. As always, I'm your host, Shravan. We've got Taran here with us.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're talking about Game Changer, the movie that's going to change the game
Yeah,
of
of cinema in general.
cinema. Yeah, just cinema in general. We watched it on opening night.
Sankranti release. First movie of the year.
First movie of Sankranti, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been...
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. If you haven't seen us till now. We'll get into our thoughts on Game Changer. We did watch it on opening day. Bit of background on it. It's starring now known as Global Star Ram Charan.
Not giving away anything about this movie, but have you realized that whenever heroes change their name, they tend to do a bad movie?
Yeah. So we've had NTR who changed from Young Tiger to what he is?
Man of Masses.
Man of Masses. And then we had Stylish Star becoming Icon Star.
Yeah.
We've had, what was Ram Charan before? Mega Power Star?
Mega Power Star.
Now he's Global Star.
There's been other changes. It used to be Prince Maheshwar, and now he's Superstar Mahesh.
Yeah. Ravi Teja didn't have anything, and then he became Mas Mahesh.
Yeah, and then he started doing bad stuff.
Yeah. A bit of background on the film. So it's directed by Shankar, who has quite a legacy in Indian cinema. So he's made quite a few influential films, I guess, across the last 30 years. His first film was Gentleman in 1993. Then he made Kardalan, also Premikudu in Telugu in 1994. Then he made Indian, which he made the sequel to last year, Indian 2, back in 1996. And then Jane's Mudalvan, which is known as Oke Okadu in Telugu, which has some similarities to this movie. It's also a political drama. And then he remade Mudalvan in Hindi called Nayak, starring
Ram Charan.
There
is a Ram Charan.
There is a Ram Charan Nayak movie. It's starring Anil Kapoor.
Anil Kapoor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking Kapoor. I was thinking Ranbir Kapoor, but I'm like, no, it was...
He would have been way bigger.
Yeah. Boys. He did a movie called Boys.
The Boys, yeah.
Yeah, The Boys, the series.
Yeah. It's got Carl Urban.
Yeah, that one.
That one. He's done that one. Yeah.
Also starring Siddharth. Interesting fact about that. So the music director for this film is Thaman. Thaman acted in Boys. Onion, which is probably my favorite Shankar film, came out in 2005 after Boys, known as Aparichitru in Telugu. We've watched most of these films in Telugu, and Shankar has quite a big fan following in Telugu, which is why this film is actually it was filmed in Telugu, obviously releasing in all languages, but it's his first...
Because he's a global star. So he has to release everything on the globe. Yeah.
It's got to be globally released. Shivaji the Boss.
That's my favorite Shankar movie.
His first collaboration with Rajinikanth, but then after that, he collaborated with him straight after that for Endiran, also known as Robo. Not many people know this, and I forgot this as well. He did a remake of Three Idiots called Nanban, starring Vijay.
Oh, yeah. That movie's not bad.
And then he did and then he did 2.0, which is a sequel to Endiran. And then he did Indian 2. So there's a bit of a gap between...
Robo 2.0 and...
Yeah, 2.0 was 2018, and Indian 2 was 2024, so 6 years in between. And then this one's obviously come straight after. But while they were shooting Indian 2, so Indian 2 was... it was in production for a long time. They paused it in between, and then they filmed this movie. And then he went back and finished Indian 2 and Indian 3 as well. So this movie, we were talking about this yesterday, so it actually did start filming before RRR released. It started filming in October 2021. It was announced in February 2021, or like sometime in 2021, early 2021. So essentially, it's been almost in production for 3.5 years. As we mentioned, Thaman is the music director. First time that he's working with Shankar in terms of music direction. It's produced by Dil Raju, who this is their...
Produced Dil.
He produced Dil.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. That was his actually...
That's why his name's Dil Raju.
That was his first film, hence...
I thought his name was actually Dil Raju, but it's not. His name's just Raju.
Yeah, that's right. But Raju's a very common name, so he needed something to go with it, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is their 50th film production. This is their most expensive film production. He's also releasing another movie, interestingly, in a couple of days for Sankranti as well. the Venkateshwara, and the budget is 350 to 400 crore. Bit of background on the budget itself. So about 80 crore went into songs, and I think it was about 65 crore went to Ram Charan. So take those away, it's still a big budget film.
Yeah.
I guess we can get into our thoughts on it. That's why you're here. What did you think of Game Changer?
Yeah, well, we talked about it afterwards. It wasn't great, was it? It was,
no.
Yeah. I guess the problem with it mostly was it's not logical in any sense. If you don't like any logic, then you'll probably love this movie. But also there's not a whole load of story as well. It's not anything you haven't seen before in other movies or even Shankar movies. It's like very similar template to what he always does, basically, other than he's like Shivaji, Onion,
all of his political,
of those
gentlemen,
they all follow a similar template.
Indian as well.
Oh yeah, Indian as well. Yeah, which this also follows. So it's not new. It's not entertaining enough to be good, even though the template is the same and the story isn't good enough to carry it, essentially.
Yeah. And I think, I can start with some positives. So I thought you
liked the flashback, didn't you?
Which one? So there's two flashbacks.
There's two flashbacks.
There's one where he's a student, and there's one where he's playing sort of a dual character in this movie. So there's one with sort of an older and younger character, which is kind of, I was actually thinking of this. So RRR starring Ram Charan and NTR. NTR does Devra, where he plays the father and the son. Ram Charan does this, where he also plays the father and the son.
Yeah. The movies that this reminded me of were Shivaji, Mersul.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's,
the Vijay film.
Interestingly, Utley used to work under.
Yeah, he was an assistant to Shankar.
Utley, I think it is. Yeah,
I think it is Utley.
Is it Utley?
I hear different pronunciations. I think it is Utley, but you guys let us know.
He used to work under Shankar. What else does this movie remind you of?
It reminded me. I didn't remember this yesterday, but it reminded me of the other Vijay star, Sarkar.
Sarkar. I haven't seen that movie.
It's the one
I tried to, but it's really boring.
it's the one around like
it's like voting or something.
Voting, yeah. So, but yeah, it's a political drama. I think the positives
and the King's Speech,
and which we can get into in spoilers. The positive is I think Ram Charan was good. He was good, like overall. I think he was good in the flashback more than the sort of present day character. Not that he was bad.
It was like Liger as well.
Yes, it was. Yes, better than Liger.
Better than Liger. Yeah.
At least for that part anyway. But apart from that, I'm thinking what else there is. Like, I was going to say music, but the music isn't that good.
The music isn't that good. I like the background music was all right to start off with, but then it becomes like
repetitive.
Overbearing.
It's too repetitive.
It's very repetitive.
So Thaman had like 3 sort of background scores. So he's got like the hero background score. He's got a background score for SJ Suryah, who's plays the same character that he always plays.
Typecast now. He's exact same character as Saripur Dasenivara.
Pretty much. Yeah. And I think there's some other movies where he plays the similar character as well. So, but he was good, I guess. If
you like that, then
for what he was in, I guess he was fine. Like they asked him to do that, and I guess he did a good job. But yeah, Thaman had some like standard background scores for him for Ram Charan, and he just kept repeating it. Like every time SJ Suryah came onto the screen, he played this background score. Every time Ram Charan
does something,
there's the same background score. They overused this filming technique.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. It's in Indian too. I think it's in Indian too. I haven't seen the full movie, but it's in the intermission where Kamal Hassan's like walking along a bridge and he's like putting sunglasses on or something. I can't remember exactly.
I've erased that movie from my memory. But
it's basically like a camera technique where it's like a pause
kind of like
slow motion
between,
and then
they used it in Vikram, I think.
Okay.
They used it in Vikram in one of the fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like it basically, you'll know the one we're talking about. It moves fast and then it slows down and stops for a bit and then it moves fast and
it kind of looks like something Zack Snyder would use.
It kind of does.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
it's just
it's
used
too
at like it's not used in action scenes. It's used just when he's walking.
it's
Yeah,
just for like elevation
yeah,
shots, but
yeah,
it's just overused.
yeah.
There's also other interesting cinematography techniques. Like there's a lot of shots where the camera just goes around the room, and it
Yeah.
kind of like it's kind of
It's like
nausea inducing
yeah,
after a
motion
while.
sickness. Weird use of like fantastical elements just at random parts in the movie.
Yes.
Like he like flicks his finger up like this and some guy flies out of the room.
Yeah.
It happens in the first half once, it happens in the second half once,
Yeah.
and that's it. Yeah.
There's some weird like visual cues. Like there's this like love meter thing and
Oh
like
yeah, and an
anger
anger
meter
meter.
thing.
Yeah.
And then there's
That reminded me of Kungula.
yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, not in a good way. The main thing about this film is it's probably a very outdated kind of structure to the film. Like not even 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, if this kind of movie came out. Like Shivaji era. If this is like a Shivaji era movie.
Mm.
So I know there's nostalgia associated with Shivaji, so people really like that film. But if that kind of film was released now, I feel like it wouldn't be received as positively. So,
But I would say Shivaji is a better movie than this.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of logical flaws, plot holes in this that are not present in Shivaji. But it's definitely a movie from that era because it has
It just has cut
songs. Yeah. So basically, the songs are not part of the story.
There's one song that's part of the story, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's scenes that lead up to songs. So the scenes are only there so that there can be a song. So Kira Adwani is the female lead. She has no significance in the plot. I guess they tried to make her sort of important in the first half, but it doesn't. That whole plot line doesn't feature in the second half.
Yeah.
So they say that this guy's got anger management issues, but it never really surfaces again after that. There's a lot of filler as well. So the first 40 minutes is probably just like filler.
And so much cringe comedy where it just like it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like they've brought in Sunil, who I like when he does comedy, but I didn't laugh at any one of his jokes. And that's mostly what the first 40 minutes is just like cringe comedy.
And the way they've kind of written Sunil's character and the way they've designed, it's just weird. It's just like, yeah, what is this? They have cast many other actors in the film. So apart from, as we mentioned, S.J. Suryah, there's Srikanth, who plays a pretty significant role, again, after Devara. And Anjali plays a role in the flashback, and she plays a role in the film. I thought she was okay, actually. I thought she was one of the better people in the film.
They just make strange decisions about her character, though.
Yes, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
Which will, we'll jump into it in spoilers. But yeah, overall, I thought this was just a waste of money, is what I'll say.
To watch it and to make it as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Interestingly, in this movie, it says the screenplay is written by Karthik Subbaraj, who is a Tamil director. He's actually doing Suryah's next movie.
Yeah.
And he did like Petta and things like that, I think.
Tirthanda.
Yeah. And people really enjoy his work.
Yeah.
Why is this screenplay written by him? Because this screenplay could have been written by anyone. This is like a very like carbon copy cutout story that's been done a million times. Like,
the background to this is during COVID, when they had to halt the filming of all films, but Indian 2, what Shankar was working on, apparently all the Tamil directors had like a Zoom call that they'd have periodically, and it had Shankar and Karthik Subbaraj and like Gautam Menon and I think Maniratnam and those kind of guys. And then they used to discuss stories. And one of the stories that Karthik Subbaraj had was this one. I think it was more like a line saying like there was this farmer that became a politician or something. It was something, it wasn't the full story. It was kind of more of a loose line. And then Shankar liked it and he said he will make it. And then like Dilraju was meant to make Indian 2, but for whatever reason they backed out, and so he still wanted to make a movie with Shankar. So basically it came together that way. So they credited him as writing the screenplay, but I think I don't think he wrote the screenplay. I think he just provided a storyline. And that was it.
Yeah. Because it's very like it's very generic. Like
Yeah,
anyone could have written
There's
this.
a line in the film where he's like, "I'm unpredictable," but this is like the most predictable movie ever. You've seen this movie before,
And you've seen it done better so many
multiple
more
times.
Even
So,
Ram Charan's dad's done it better with Tagore, which is like the same movie, but he's done it better than this.
the main character is he's an IAS officer. He studied IPS, so initially he was an IPS officer, then he becomes an IAS officer, and then he becomes a politician.
Mm.
And he basically like shuffles between those roles at will in the movie. Like whenever he wants to do something else, he just does it. So it's very convenient. Yeah, and there's just too many logical flaws. Like there's a lot of issues with the film. And we'll get into some of them in spoilers, but this is not worth your time or money or Dilraj's money. Unfortunately for him, I think it's going to be difficult for him to get this much money back.
Heard like on online they were saying that Shankar's always been famous for shooting like very expensive songs, especially and like big set pieces for songs. And they said back in the day when there wasn't any internet, like going to an exotic location and shooting a song and then seeing like crazy visuals and stuff would be good in a theater because you can't really see it anywhere else. But now with the internet and with people traveling the world and everything like that, you can see that a million times over if you wanted to. Even stuff that's in this movie's in the songs, you can see them anywhere you want to, really. So
yeah,
like
I think the time for like big set piece songs is
probably done.
Is done, unless it's something like Natu Natu, which was part of the story.
Yeah,
and they've sort of set it up so it kind of was part of the plot. Whereas this just stops the plot. It's a completely like. It's not. It's a fictitious location as well. Like the song's not even real. It's just. I think the time for that kind of stuff is done. Like it reminds me of, again, Shivaji. There's like that song. Where they make him white and he like. That song.
Yeah.
Like that whole setup in that movie was for that song. And they spent lavishly on the song. And I guess at that time it was something that people appreciated, but. If you did that now, you're like, what was the point of all of that? Because the main plot of Shivaji is nothing to do with that song. So
and I don't think any director really does big set piece songs anymore to this level.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah, because some movies can be made for 80 crore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, like, if you're just doing the songs based off that, then it's a waste of money. And the songs aren't that good as well. Yeah. And we did see none. Was that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And they dropped one of the songs.
Yeah.
So
they are bringing it back. I know
I think in a couple of days. Yeah. They said they'll bring it back. There were some technical issues with them putting it into the film.
But I'm not going to watch this again.
No way.
Yeah.
Not even on streaming. I don't think I'll be able to watch this. But yeah, not recommended. Hopefully we're not too harsh. But
it's better than Indian too.
Yeah, but that's not high praise. I don't think. It's only marginally. Like, I think Shankar's got some pretty high standards. And the movies he has made, like, some of them are really good. So credit where credit is due. But I think he's definitely not what he used to be. Very clearly not what he used to be. I think since probably
Robo.
I personally don't like Endiran that much. I think it's fine. Like, it's a good concept, I guess. And he tried something different, actually, in that movie. He did sci-fi, and it wasn't like a political corruption-related movie.
Yeah.
Which was good. And I guess it was executed reasonably well for the time. But then after that, all the movies he's done are not great. Maybe he's a director for that time period.
That era.
Yeah. And I think he's still making movies from that era now, which it just doesn't seem to work. Well, it won't work. Spoilers?
Yeah, sure.
What do you want to get into? The flashback?
That's the only part that people seem to like. I didn't love it, but it definitely is better than the rest of the movie.
At least it's sort of competently made. Like,
even if story.
Even though it's predictable, at least it's kind of watchable.
The thing is, there's no irrelevant scenes in it.
Yeah,
everything is relevant to the story.
There is a song, but it's a song that kind of flows goes with the plot as well.
No, cringe comedy inserted unnecessarily. I guess Ram Charan does a slightly different role to what he's done previously. So
And he does it pretty well. You mentioned Liger, so he has a speech impediment, the older Ram Charan character, and then they sort of ask him to become a political leader, but then he struggles to talk in political forums, and then there is like a King's Speech type sequence where they're trying to get him to lose the stammer, but it doesn't work, and then he makes Srikanth the he's meant to be the spokesperson, but then eventually becomes like the leader of the political party, and then he backstabs him literally, and that's the plot. You've seen it before.
Yeah. That's essentially the plot of the whole movie, but it's only in the flashback, and then you know what will happen after that. It's But I guess interestingly, Srikanth isn't the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
It's SJ Suryah, who has no relevance in the flashback. He's a kid in the flashback.
Yeah. It's not even his kid. You find out later.
Yeah, it's like his adopted kid. But essentially SJ Suryah kills Srikanth as well in the future.
Yeah.
It just felt like the connection between Srikanth's character and Ram Charan's future character is stronger than the connection between SJ Suryah's character and Ram Charan's character. There's no connection there.
Yeah. And then Srikanth makes Ram Charan the leader of the political party.
Yeah. And there's no plot point where it's said why Srikanth
reforms and changes his
mind. There's never a scene that kind of says how that
They just start the movie and he's having nightmares about like Anjali and like Ram Charan's older character, and then he somehow decides to change his ways.
Yeah.
And he tries to change his party, and then SJ Suryah always wanted to become the CM, even at the expense of his father. And then he's got an elder son, which is played by Jairam as well, who also wants to become CM as well. And
but just comedy for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt like the plot wasn't fully thought through in terms of motivations for anyone.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. Because in the end, there's no real like strong feeling when you're seeing SJ Suryah and Ram Charan fight. You're like, I don't really care.
I guess there is some beef between them because Ram Charan, more like in the present day, more like it's not linked to his father's past.
Yeah.
It's more just in the present day where they're just like Ram Charan stops some of his businesses or whatever.
But it's not like anything major, honestly. Like he does the same thing to other people in this movie as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's other people who does the same thing that he does to SJ Suryah. There's a lot of conveniences in the plot. So
I didn't even realize one of them until you guys told me when we left the theater, but apparently he becomes CM at the end.
Yeah,
but I didn't realize.
It's like a news reporter like narrating in the background. So he's walking out after the climax fight sequence, and he's walking out, and then the reporter is just like, "Oh, they've decided to make him the leader of the party, and now we see him."
Brings up countless issues.
Yes, because he was the election officer, so he was actually in charge of making sure that the election
wasn't rigged and like went through
properly.
Yeah,
and I don't think it makes sense for him to suddenly become CM.
Yeah,
so there's multiple issues there itself. And he's not even part of the party. He's just a guy.
He's just a guy, yeah.
He's just a separate
So I
guy.
didn't even realize that happened because it happened so quickly at the end. I completely blanked on it.
Yeah.
You guys told me, and I'm like, did he?
Yeah, well, he's giving political speeches in the end credits. Yeah, and then there's other parts. Like in the first half, there's multiple conveniences as well where he's a IAS officer, and then we can talk about his backstory. So there's this little college sequence where he meets Kiara Advani's character, and I guess there's kind of a love story there. It's not really well established, but she tells him to become an IS officer. So he's got anger management issues, and in order for him to curb it, she recommends that instead of doing IPS, he does IAS, because IPS, you're a police officer. So
they kind of frame that whole situation just to do that dope song as well.
And then she dumps him because he doesn't become an IAS officer.
Yeah. I felt it was pretty funny because this guy failed his exam. It's in like probably the worst situation of his life where he's failed and doesn't
get he actually tries to become.
He's like, I only missed by 6 marks. It was so close. But she just leaves him.
Yeah. And then I think it's like 10 years or something. Like he spends 10 years trying to become an IS officer. officer.
And he finally does.
Yeah. And then he happens to just
Well,
meet
we
her.
don't live in India. Is this a legitimate rule that if you're an IAS officer, you can't cross
into the other district?
You can't cross into the other district. What if you need to go there to get Kurulu or something? What if you need to get or there's like
you
a
just need to go
shopping center?
shopping, or like your friend is there or your relatives are there, like you can't go there? Is that a rule?
I don't know. We don't live there. We're not IAS officers, but it seems made up to me.
There's some like comedy in that sequence, which is, like you said, not good. Cringy. Yeah, and then after that, he just does stuff at will. Like he gets dismissed as an IS officer, then he gets appointed as the
electoral commissioner.
Yeah, there's just too many logical flaws.
Yeah,
in the film. So Anjali has a character in the present day as well. So she's in the past as his mother, and then in the present day, she's he just happens to meet her as well. Just randomly. And she has this thing where like she can't look at people in the eye.
I didn't understand that, like, because she does at
multiple
various points. She does also look at people.
Yeah,
it's just like she has her face to the side for like majority of the film, but at random points she just looks at people. It's a strange character decision.
Yeah. Maybe Shankar has the thing about like people looking to the side, because Sunil's character
also does that.
His whole character's around. He can't. I don't know. He can't walk forwards or something. It's weird. There's a sequence that our friend found very funny. It's meant to be quite an emotional sequence in the film,
but it's so illogical. Because she's in jail due to get a DNA test.
So the setup for this is S.J. Suryah says that Ram Charan can't be the election officer because his dad was the founder of the political party, one of the political parties, and there's a conflict of interest. And they want to prove that. And then Ram Charan's like, I've got all these like government documents that prove that my parents are these other people. But they're like, nah, we need to do a DNA test. And then they bring in Anjali, and she's like, oh yeah, he's my son. And then they're like, oh, okay, we need to do a DNA test. And then she does some research, I guess, overnight on what a DNA test is.
Yeah, she somehow steals a phone off someone.
Yeah. Well, I think she just asks one of the like prison wardens or whatever to give her a phone.
And her YouTube search history is what is a DNA test, and then how to kill yourself without.
There's a sequence. There's like what is a DNA test, and the guy's like, well, you can use, any remnants of the human body can be used as a DNA test. And then she's like, how do you get rid of a human body with no remnants?
Yeah, which is a very dodgy YouTube search, and the YouTube video should not be there. Like, that video shouldn't exist. Yeah.
And then it leads her to a sulfuric acid plant or something.
So she just types in sulfuric acid or something, and then it leads her to the closest place, which is a unmanned plant where there's just a tub full of sulfuric acid, which is openly accessible to everyone.
Anyone, the public. You can just go in whenever you want.
It's got steps to access it as well.
And so many questions arise from that. Like, firstly, how long did she have this phone for? And how did the person not realize what she was searching?
Yeah.
Secondly, how did she get out of that place? Was she in prison?
Yeah, she was in prison. She just escapes. Yeah.
And then thirdly, how did she, because Ram Charan has to like drive to this plant. It doesn't look like it's that close. So did she just walk there and just walk into there? Everything's open. Yeah. Multiple questions.
Yeah. That was the most illogical sequence in the whole movie, because it's just so stupid. But it was meant to be like the emotional core of that movie. What I found the funniest after that was they do like a montage sequence of every time the future Ram Charan was with his biological mother, which was 2 scenes in the movie. So they just do a montage of 2 scenes.
Exactly. He just meets her in this like old age home that Kira Advani's character works in. And then he meets her like one other time.
Yeah.
I think that's
pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. And like, I feel sorry for Ram Charan because I think he actually genuinely gives a decent emotional performance in that scene. but it's just too like the lead up to it is just too hilarious that you can't take it seriously.
You can't take it seriously. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, not good, not good.
Yeah.
The action's not great either. Like,
There's just nothing special about it.
it's just
whatever.
very generic. Like it can be generic, but there's also all these like logical flaws that just make it even worse.
I think a generic movie can be lifted up by a great performance by someone or something that just elevates it, but there just wasn't. I don't think Ram Charan gives a bad performance, but his performance wasn't something like that special that elevates it that much. And there's just nothing else in this movie that elevates it to a level that's like, oh yeah, that was actually really good.
Wow. Well, what a start to the year. So next we are talking about Daaku Maharaaj, which is actually the movie you asked us to watch. So the poll,
we should just listen to you guys and not watch it.
The poll results were that Daaku Maharaaj was the winner.
So I actually thought this movie would be the best movie out of the three.
Yeah.
But now I hope it's not.
Well, I'm very concerned for our health and well-being tomorrow when we watch Daaku Maharaaj if it's worse than this.
Yeah. I hope it's not going to be the best out of the three. Yeah.
Also, we talk about this in every movie. Loudness. This was actually way too loud. Like actually unbearably loud. So I went. It wasn't just me. There was about 5 people from the cinema that went out in the first 5 minutes of the movie to the Hoyt staff, telling them that we need to turn the sound down. So that should give you an indication that it was just way too loud. I don't know if that was an issue with our cinema or the way like Hoyts has tuned their system, or whether it's just an issue with the way the film itself was mixed. But it was, if it was at that sound level for the whole movie, I wouldn't have watched it. I literally wouldn't have been able to watch it. It was way too loud. So we got we got the staff to put it down. Then it was
manageable.
Hopefully Daaku Maharaaj doesn't have that issue, but Hoyt staff, get ready tomorrow if it is, because I'm going to tell you. Cool. So if people want to get in touch with us about their thoughts on Game Changer, how they go.
So we're on all social media platforms at Cognitive Recalibration. Sorry, that's the wrong podcast. We're on all social media platforms at Paisa Vasool. But our email is still cognitiverecalibrationpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. And if you don't follow us on Cognitive Recalibration, do follow us on that. So I'll put a link on the video. But yeah, we talk about Hollywood films. We just talked about another masterpiece, Craven the Hunter, on that. So go watch that if you want. We are also on audio stream. So if you want to listen to us when you're out and about, you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on iTunes Podcasts. We're on those as well. So subscribe to us on those platforms and give us a comment if you have any thoughts on those as well. Cool. You'll see us very shortly, I guess, for the next film.
Daaku Maharaaj.
Fingers crossed that it's...
And we're not watching Sankranti.
No, we're not. So we were going to watch 2, and the top 2 that won were these. So I didn't watch a Telugu film for 1 year after I watched F2, so I can't bear to watch Sankranti Kosthadam. Just based off the trailer, I'm like, nah,
we're not watching that.
I can't handle it. But if that ends up being the best movie of this season, then it's a
bad season.
Cool. Yeah. All right, we'll see you very soon for Daaku Maharaaj. Thanks for listening and watching, and happy Sankranti.